Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to our first edition of 2023 for Tip Tuesdays. As we start off the new year, I appreciate you guys joining us live. Also, for those listening, appreciate you tuning in later. I have a tip for you today that I think is really kind of important. I like the idea that a new year brings new opportunities. I know it kind of sounds a little hokey there, but I really do think that it's a point where we can all say, all right, I'm going to choose to do something different here. Now, in reality, we should look at any day to say, hey, I need to make changes in my life and be willing to do it that day and not put it off. But there are things that kind of bring things together to make a time like this something where we could say, all right, I'm going to make a definitive change in my life and I'm going to start doing that now. And it's about creating habits. And habits take time to form, but then they can be very difficult to break. Now, if it's a good habit, then that's obviously a good thing. But if it's a bad habit, now we've got to, kind of replace that bad thing with something good. So we can't just say, oh, I'm going to stop doing a bad thing because then we're going to replace it with something. And if we don't replace it with something better, then that's not really a good step forward for us. So I was watching a video, and it's a former Navy SEAL, and he's given this graduation speech. And one of the things that he mentions to those people is the first thing you do in the morning is when you get up, make your bed. Now, I've never been a make your bed kind of person. And to me, it didn't make much sense. I'm like, why would I want to make my bed? I'm going to get in it later tonight, So I was like, I don't do it. But after I was listening to him, one of the things that he said is making your bed in the morning does two things for you. One, it accomplishes a task. So it sets the tone for your day that when you wake up, you have already completed a task for that day and it makes you feel more productive. Number two is you've made your bed, so it looks a little bit nicer. If people come into your room, they can see a bed that's made rather than one that's kind of just, got sheets all over the place. That makes sense to me. So I started thinking, well, how does that really apply to us as traders? And the thing that I would encourage you guys to do today is to say, what is a habit I need to form like early on in the morning for my trading? All right. So what is something I need to specifically start doing every morning just to let it become my habit? So what is something I can do to make my trading better that's going to be like something that needs to be done every single morning? So for some people, it might just be, you know what, I'm going to get up. And I would encourage you guys to all start with this because this is bigger than trading, is to start with time with the Lord. So, you wake up, start praying, open up the Bible, start reading your Bible. Let that be the first thing you do every day. That's what I would encourage you to. I think that's huge to make that the first thing you do each day. But when it comes to trading, what is something that you could do that would actually like really enhance your trading and put you in a position to like making the bed? Say, you know what, I'm moving forward today. One of the things that I've found with most people is that they kind of get overwhelmed with the totality of the whole thing. So they might go look at, hundreds of stocks and just say, I don't even know where to start. I don't, I can't find something to trade today because there are too many things to trade today. So one of the things I think that would be really helpful for all of us to do, either at night, the night before, when obviously the market is closed, or that morning, is to create a small, realistic list of stocks that you want to watch the next morning. And when I say small, I don't really care how big your list is to start. You could have hundreds of stocks to start with. But when you finish that list, narrow it down to like three stocks that you're really going to get up the next morning and you're going to watch those three stocks and you're going to make a trading decision. Do I want to enter that trade? Is it doing what I thought it might do this morning? Or is it doing something very different? And so I'm not going to trade it at all. And then you move on to the next one. Now, very, very practical here for you as well. Those of you guys that have either options ability or you can trade spreads, if you find a great pattern out there, go ahead and take the next step all right, before the morning gets here or before the market opens, into looking at the option chain itself. This is actually an area where a lot of people kind of neglect this, and then they go and they find a great trade setup, and then they get in there and they start to think about trading that thing. They look at it and the spreads are 40, 50, 60, 70 cents, and they're like, those are not any good. Or they're worse, they're dollar 20 wide. So a couple of things about that. When it comes to trading stocks that have really terrible option spreads, you need to do one of two things. One is you can just kind of deal with it and just say, hey, the spreads are bad, but this pattern is so good, I'm willing to trade the spreads. But just remember, you're going to be trading the spreads, getting into the trade and getting out of that trade. So if they have wide spreads, you're going to be haggling with them twice. And so I don't really personally love that idea. But that's something that you need to do as well, because if you go out there and you find a pattern and then you get all excited about it, and the next day you wake up and it's starting to move your desired direction, the S&P is headed the direction you want, so you have all three legs lined up, and then you get out there and you're like, whoa, the spreads on this thing are horrible. It's kind of like defeating, and then you kind of starting the whole process over. So one of the things that needs to be part of your process when you're finding a group of stocks and narrowing them down to 3 or less is that you're going to check the spreads and make sure that whether you're doing just a straight call or put, credit spread, debit spread, etc., that's going to be reasonable for you, so that you can go out there and make a trade and feel good about that because the spreads are small enough. So if starting out the morning by making your bed is a sign of progress and a sign of doing simple things and then trying to do simple things well, then I think us taking that same approach to our trading is a good thing. So I thought very practically I would go over that with you guys today here for a few minutes. So I'm going to open up another screen here, and I'm just going to show you what this might look like using your charts by Tradeway here. All right, so let's go and bring this up. All right, let's see here. I'm going to do this one and share. All right, so you guys ought to be seeing me. All right, it looks like it's supposed to. All right, so as we are looking at this is our charts by Tradeway. Obviously, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the S&P. Now I'm going to zoom in here a little bit further because that's out pretty far. Now we're on a 3-month daily view. That gives me a lot better idea what's happening. So when I wake up this morning, I would have noticed that the S&P was climbing, but it was headed towards the 20-day. So one of the things that we have to do, right, and why I think doing it the night before kind of makes sense, so that you're already set for that day, is to realize that if I get into a position like this, where I wake up and the S&P is already moving very quickly, then if I'm not already ready to go, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to be like, and I'm going to get frozen, and then I'm going to miss anything. So twofold. One is to kind of understand, well, what is the overall market likely to do? And what are some of the things, the basic things that I can kind of think through that might matter? So I might look at this and say, well, the 20-day is up on top. So what happens if the S&P hits the 20-day? Could that be resistance? The answer is yes. Well, does that mean I want to go get in a bullish trade if the S&P might hit the 20-day and fall? And in fact, if you were watching this morning, within the first 15 minutes, that had already happened. So the S&P had already climbed 20-something points, but it hit the 20-day. And then as soon as it hit the 20-day, it started to fall again. So now you have this kind of bullish sentiment. You're kind of locked into like, I'm going to do bullish trades. Hey, the S&P is up. Then you hit that 20-day. Now you look at it and the S&P is down and you're going, wait a second, what happened to my bullish trades? Obviously, I don't want to be jumping into bullish trades now that the S&P has hit a potential resistance and it's falling. So the other thing I would say to you is, when you're narrowing down your list of stocks and you're trying to get them to 3, have both bullish and a bearish at least, or bearish and at least one bullish trade selected as well. That way, if you get into a position like we see today, where you think, oh, it could go either way, now you're already prepared. And so you're not having to start this whole thing over again because you thought the market was going to be bullish, but now it's turned bearish on you. All right. So in your list of 3 or 4, maybe you can have 2 and 2. It just depends. Sometimes you can see a lot of stocks that look very bullish, and then you kind of have to search for a bearish one. Other times it'll be the opposite, where you see a lot of bearish and you have to go search for a bullish one. So have at least one of each, and then be ready to act on what the market is showing you. So if we were looking at stuff today, we would say, oh, the S&P at the 20-day, now it's dropping. Well, what's down here below? Well, it already broke below the 10-day. Well, that's a really big deal. Is it going to break below the 5-day? That's going to be a really big deal. So if it starts to fall, now I need to switch my mindset from bullish to bearish. That means I need to be primarily honing in on bearish positions. All right. So how could we do this from a very practical standpoint? Well, let's go up here to watch list, and we'll go over here and we'll just select we'll just do the options list for now. And I'm going to go over here, and this list, like this list view, that does nothing for me. I can't really do anything with that. So I'm going to change that up. Now I've made these into charts. Now they don't have the EMAs on it, but at least I can kind of see what things are doing. So remember, I've already done the research. I get an idea here that I'm probably going to need to go bearish for the most part, but if I see a bullish pattern looks really great, I can adapt. Well, obviously these thumbnail views are way too small. So I'm going to go medium here. You can do large too if you want. And that gives you a better idea, but of course you're going to have to scroll down a lot more. So we're not going to take a ton of time here, but let's look at this. Now we don't have EMAs and all that stuff, but we can do a couple of things. So one is we're going to go over here and we're going to check mark a couple of these things, and we're going to move them over. I'm going to show you guys how to do that real quick. So this stock looks like it's struggling a little bit. Well, the S&P is struggling a little bit. I'm going to tag that one. Overall, this is kind of a flat pattern here. Again, you're going to have to kind of adapt a little bit. You're just looking for patterns here. We're going to have to bring them over to a bigger chart to kind of see them with the EMAs and everything. But this is certainly not looking too bullish right now. So we'll tag it as well. This one, guys, has already moved too much. So even though it's clearly bearish today, it's moved too much. This one, not so much. Maybe we'll go take a look at it. The other thing to consider too is there a price range that you want to be in? So, you say, Geoffrey, if it's about, 30 to 50, I know those options are going to be very reasonable. So I'm going to kind of hang out in that range. I'm not really dealing with the Googles. I'm not really interested in the the Costco's and things like that. I said Google, but Google did that big split, so now it's reasonably priced again. But there are some out here that SRPT. You say it's 127. That's a little bit out of my range. Even with options, I just don't want to pay that much for it. Well, then skip by that. It may be a good pattern, but it may not be something you want to do. So we're just looking for some kind of bearish patterns here. Stocks that haven't moved too much. Maybe something like this. Now that's Oxy, but we've already got Halliburton up there, so we already have one oil and gas. So we'll save that one for now. We're just looking at bearish patterns here. Like, it's funny because a lot of these look the same. You see it, how they kind of just have this curve to them. So it's like they're just on a downward trend, but they just kind of have this curve to them. That's kind of interesting that so many of those, at least 3 in a row, kind of lined up and showed that pattern. Here's one that's making a reverse flag. So let's kind of tag that one and see if it might hit some EMAs and drop. And let's see, anything else we want to tag? We should get a bullish one. Let's tag this one for now. All right, so now that I've tagged all of those, what we're going to do is we're going to move those over to our regular trading list. And all that, it was pretty simple there. You guys kind of see what happened there. I clicked right here, I tagged them, and then I just clicked right here, that little beaker thing, and that moved them over to my charts list. So when we go over here back to our charts, now we can see these that we've tagged are showing up right here for us. So let's go look at them. All right, so we tagged TS here. It did look like it was turning, but it's right here at the 10-day. All right, well that's that's something I might want to watch. Like that's still okay. I think we can kind of watch that one, see if we want to add it. Oh, MRO still below all the EMAs. Looks like it could drop down to $26 here with bearish sentiment. So the market gets negative. That one's pretty good. So we did a good job of finding that. APA is still above all the EMAs. It is struggling a little bit today. I don't like it as much as MRO, so we'll get rid of it. Yeah, here's Calm. So they had earnings. They had a negative response to earnings, but it's been going up. If this were to hit the EMAs and drop again, we would like that. So we'll keep that one. BHP, we tagged. Oh, they have earnings today. All right, well, let's get rid of that one. So now we probably have to come in there, find another one that we could add in and say, all right, let's go with a bullish one. So we would have something like that. But now we've done some of the work, guys, and so now it's just a matter of clicking on. So MRO was one that stood out to us. Now let's go up here. Let's click on the options chain. We go out here and we just start looking. Does it meet the criteria? What are the spreads like on this thing? So let's just click on this real quick and just kind of see. All right. So what I'm doing here when I'm looking at the spreads is what's the difference between the bid and the ask. So the stock's around $26. That's about 10 cents. We got about 9 cents there as we go deeper in the money. 15, 10, 10. All right. So what about the puts? 10, 10, 10. Okay. All right. So we can add that one to our list. And if MRO presents an opportunity, guys, now I've done exactly what we're talking about. I'm ready to roll. So if I wanted to do something with MRO, the chart still looks like it's headed in the direction that I want. Obviously, I think we went bearish here. Then I'm ready to go. So now I've eliminated some of that pause that's likely to occur when I have no plan. I've already created a plan. Now I just have to go through the rest of the things. What's my target price? What's my entry? Where's my stop out? We got to go through all that stuff. Go ahead and do that too. Because if you start trying to make stuff up as you go, you're really going to struggle in your trading. So go ahead and make a plan. And then as Jared Russell says, make a plan, but then trade your plan. Well, it's hard to trade your plan if you don't have a plan. So create the plan and then go out there and trade it. So guys, there we go. That is our first tip of the year. There's actually quite a few tips in there, but do something very practical. So either each night or each morning that puts you in a position where you are going to be able to trade and not just sit there and go, yeah. So put yourself in a position where you're ready to trade and you're ready to go meet your goals. And by the way, let me finish with this, guys. Set goals, set actual trading goals this year. Whatever those might be, however big or small, it's fine to set small goals. If you achieve them, you can keep moving them up. But set goals and work diligently to achieve your goals. I think having a goal is a big deal. And then, by the way, last thing here about goals, don't let it just be about finances. Okay. So your goal needs to lead to something that really brings you excitement. Okay. So what does reaching my goal do for me? So if I reach my financial goal, what am I going to do with that? How is that going to impact me? Think through those things. And then let's make 2023 a year where we say, you know what? I'm not going to let things just kind of hang out or be okay. I'm actually going to do some stuff. I'm going to take some real practical steps forward this year to start reaching some of my financial goals. Guys, thanks for being on with us. We'll see you next time.